Who we are will tell the story of what we've done.
I would inspire people to live in your authenticity and live in your purpose. And when you follow your purpose, the rest comes.
You have to be where your feet are. Everything that you do in the present creates your outcome.
So we have to have more of us in those rooms where those decisions are being made in places of leadership.
You have to really be strong in who you are.
That's the one thing I can say, Bev, that is missing so much from our young people, being able to get that shared knowledge and appreciation for a lot of women, a lot of things that women before us have done.
They made it so that we, my generation, could have more, and we made it so that the generations that come after us.
I feel that how we can get together, we need to cooperate, we need to communicate, and we need to celebrate.
Hello, everyone. This is not our final show per se, but it's really our final show of this season. And I'm so honored to have the men that we are going to have on the show today. Why? Because you rarely see them do interviews, and you have never seen them on a platform together. Why? Because they're so busy giving, so busy creating, so busy giving back to their community that it's not about them, it's about the show. But before I introduce them, I would love for you to meet Gary Charles, who's the founder and president of ABIS, which is the Advancements of Blacks in Sports. Gary, how are you? And tell them what's going on.
Bev, this is a real special show. So first I want to say to everyone, welcome. Welcome to tonight. Welcome to listening to the mindset of champion and legends. Now, everyone who knows me, no disrespect to anyone, knows that I hate it when a poor person is trying to tell me how to be rich. I hate it. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And tonight, with the group that you're going to be hearing, you're going to be surrounding yourself with success. Listen carefully to what they have to say. Too often, people are always asking the question, well, how do I make it? ABIS had a day party over the weekend, and I was around people like Coach Leonard Hamilton of Florida State. I was actually in conversation with Dawn Staley, who just won another championship. And we discuss these things all the time. How do we continue to grow our people? How do we grow their mindset? Well, here it is tonight. Just remember what's about to happen. You're about to get the answers to the test. And if you had the answers to the test, you'll be an A student. Wouldn't you? Well, then listen up. Welcome to this show, Coach Bev.
Thank you. Oftentimes, when we want mentorship, we're looking for someone to give us a blueprint, step by step on what to do. But what we're looking for is the external blueprint. How do we move? But it's about who you are and how you move internally that makes the difference. Read everyone's resume. Google them. You'll see their resume is phenomenal. Tonight, I'd like to introduce you to our prestigious panel because they understood the key. They're not just phenomenal, accomplished men of color. They are phenomenal human beings. They've succeeded because of who they are. You know, we often say success is predicated on who you know. No, your success is predicated on who you are. And tonight we're going to learn what greatness looks like from the inside to produce it on the outside. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel. And I'm going to start with the youngster on the panel. He's going to say he ain't a youngster because he's old like me, but not as old, but he's seasoned. Ray Austin is a phenomenal, for me, young man who is a multitasker. When I tell you this has got to be the busiest human being I've ever seen, he is a serial entrepreneur, not just a former NFL player, as you can see behind him showing off. We ain't gonna even say nothing, but you need to check what's beside him, which is an Emmy. Because he's an actor, he's an entrepreneur, but most importantly, he's just a great human being. Welcome to the show, Ray.
What's up, Coach Bev? First of all, I had to think about this conversation because I'm like, man, I was looking at everybody's resumes. I'm like, I don't know if I fit in with this group. But I appreciate what you're doing and what you're doing is necessary. I talk to a lot of young people and mentorship is key for success. So I'm excited to hear all the stories and talk to everybody today.
Awesome. The next, we can't even put an age gap on the rest of the crew, because if there was ever a room full of wisdom, you're about to witness it as it enters into the showroom. My next guest is Monty Ross. I could tell you he's co-founder of 40 Acres and a Mule, but that has absolutely nothing to do with the phenomenon of what he's produced, because he's told stories that have uplifted and educated our community of Black people, along with Spike Lee and many others. And he continues to bring in that role, but he's a behind the scenes amazing man. Monty, welcome to the show.
Oh man, thank you for having me, Coach Bev. Ray, you're in good company at an HBCU, which I'm a graduate of. I went to 3 HBCUs. I had to get my act together. I did. But I just want to say that in good company, conversations like this always happened on the campus, one way or another. Somebody was having a conversation about science. Somebody was having a conversation about sports. Somebody was just having a general conversation. We would stop and pray sometime, whatever was going on. So tonight is just one of those sessions where I learned so much as a kid from Omaha, Nebraska, going to an HBCU. And it was that energy and that spirit that I put into myself that just has propelled me forward, you know, in so many different ways. So tonight, I'm just here to really be in the good gracious of everyone here and hear your story, because everybody's tidbit, everybody's story, when you add it all up, it becomes a big story, and it becomes the impact that so many of us need to hear. And so I'm just happy to contribute to all of the great stuff that has happened so far. This is one heck of a panel, I'm telling you. I'm just happy to be here.
Y'all hold on, it only gets better. They already trying to drop knowledge, and I ain't even gave them the mic yet. So hold on, it's coming, it's coming. Next we have up, he is a retired sergeant, but he's more than a former police officer. He is part of the Police Athletic League board and been the chairman. He is probably one of my favorite human beings, Mr. Chris Hill. Could you come on, please?
Oh, Bev, thanks for having me. And again, just to reiterate what they all had to say, I looked out there and said, how did I get on here? How did I get on here? But, you know, I'm thankful. I'm blessed because of Bev and people, and being and I'm going to give it homage to where it belongs. Cheney University, the first, just so y'all know, the first. You know, I was at Cheney with Gary. He still had those suits back then.
Oh, Jesus. Help him.
Yeah, he had them suits. Yeah, he had track shoes. He had a track shoe with shoes on. You know, but,
I'm going to leave that alone, Chris. I'm going to leave that one alone.
But I'm thrilled to be here and pleased to gain some knowledge, because we all can learn it every day and every time. And whenever I can give off to help others continue to grow, I'm here for that.
Definitely. Yeah.
And our next guest is Howard H. White. And what can I say about this man? Howard is, oh my God, he is probably one of the most special people I've met. And I've known him for a while now, I think since 2010 or 11, Howard. We don't want to age ourselves any more than we already are. But Howard,
oh boy,
even at the level that he's achieved, has always been accessible, always been gracious, always been loving, always been caring. And he could care less if you know his name, as long as he can promote somebody else's greatness. That's who Howard is. Howard, thank you so much for your yes.
Well, Bev, I really don't do a lot of these things.
No, you do not. You could care less.
But I will say, you know, when you called me, I'm a lot like Ray. And that's, man, what in the world am I doing up here? Bev, you know, sometimes Bev might get a little lost with something, or Alicia Hall probably paid her, say, yeah, you got to get my guy on there. I'm actually humbled. I'm humbled to be among people that have really created something. I mean, and when I say created something, they have created something for humanity.
Yes.
And that is huge. And I remember Monty. I go way, way back with Monty and Spike. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because it stayed, I mean, and it gets a long time ago. That's about almost 40 years ago. And so they were at his camp, and Spike was going to speak. But the only way he would is, hey, you got to go through Monty. And he watched, and the way they treated Monty was very indicative of how they would treat the world. See, nobody really knew who Monty was. They only knew who Spike was. But the way they treated
the man behind the man.
I'm just saying. So I'm very blessed, very fortunate, and very appreciative to be on with such esteemed people in their fields. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Howard, I appreciate all of you guys. But our last guest, I'm going to tell my audience right up front. This man can smile and you feel it, not see it, but you feel it across a room. And he is always so gracious, always so caring, always so giving. And it's amazing, because to me, that's what humility is. Humility isn't saying, oh, no, it's just, no, that's not humility. Humility is when you take the time to talk to people or to answer a call and they can do nothing for you. That's a humility. That means you have to walk and live in your humility. And that's who Louis Carr is. He gets thousands of calls, but will take your call. He will answer your email. He will answer the call if you're serious about who you are and where you're going. So, Mr. Carr, thank you for saying yes.
Well, Bev, thank you for the invite. I really didn't say yes. All right. We have to be very honest. All right. Your impact and influence when you call someone who worked for me, they said yes for me. All right.
Good.
And then they came back and told me what I had to do. So when I said off camera I was voluntold, I really was voluntold.
Good. I like that.
When I asked, what am I doing? They just said, don't worry about it. Just do it. Don't even worry about it. You're just doing it. Your influence and your impact on so many people that all of the people around me just say yes. So thank you for being that person. I am thrilled to be on the panel with these esteemed gentlemen, and I am looking to learn something. And Bev, who knows, they may be a way maker for me. All right.
You know I was going to get to that. I think Louis said something that's of vital importance. So I want to just take a quick moment before we get started, because oftentimes in our community as Black people, we have resources and we hoard those resources. And we have the most powerful contacts in the country and we don't utilize them. So let me take a moment and say, Ray, thank you, Joetta Clark, for the introduction.
Come on now.
Monty Ross, thank you, Ash Samuels, for the connection. Chris Hill, thank you, Gary Charles, for the connection. Howard H. White, thank you, Felicia Allen Hall, or Hall Allen, that's it, for the call. And Lewis, you cannot say no to Kelly Richardson Lawson. You can't. So thank you to all of those individuals who are always answering the call. So I appreciate them and I want to give them their props. Now, you can Google everyone's resume. So we're not talking about what they've accomplished. We're going to have a conversation about who they are, because it's your mindset. It's how you think. It's how you feel. These men work in very stressful environments, very competitive environments. They have stressful moments, but they move through it with grace, with purpose, and with passion. And I want to talk about that, because everybody looks at, in this society, the quick fix. They look at where you are and say, give me the blueprint, buying in on Lewis's program. But the blueprint is internal. It's not external. It starts with you. You can know a lot of people and not be prepared for the call. You guys are always prepared for the call to greatness. So I want to throw this out there. What do you think is one of your strongest attributes? You, in athletics, in corporate America, in business, it's all competitive. And you're only as good as what you've just done today, not even yesterday. So how do you move through that with all the challenges and stay centered?
Well, Bev, I'll start off. As you well know, I have most of my life been trying to pay back a debt that can never be paid. And that is to all the people who believed in me before I believed in myself. I'm the guy who grew up poor and didn't know anything beyond the neighborhood that I saw, which was not that good. I happened to run into teachers, professors, and other people who saw something in me and believed in me immediately. I don't know why. I think I do know why, because of God's plan when I look back. But they poured into me, and I realized immediately that it was something special, that they saw something special. And I feel and felt at that particular time that I owed them something for that, right? It's, you know, that's why when I meet young kids today, I tell them they can be great. And you see how uncomfortable it makes them, all right? You see how they twist and how they look at you, and they're like, well, why do you think that? And then when you explain to them why you believe how they can be great, it makes you uncomfortable, makes them uncomfortable. So because of that, and because of the success that I've had, not always due to me, trust me, not always due to me, but to others who poured into me, who believed in me, who had patience with me, I sort of believe that I owe this debt. And I'm probably only paying interest on it, fellas. I don't think I'll ever get to the principal, all right? I'll just be able to pay interest, and hopefully that is good enough. So thank you to people like yourselves, like, you know, Ray. You know, what you do on a daily basis is what I would call a waymaker. You are making a way for people. So I have so many of those people. Matter of fact, Bev, I've counted the Waymakers I've had in my life, 19.
19.
19. You know, most people, if they get one, they're blessed. I've had 19 Waymakers. And I started all the way back to elementary school for people who did something to me. Even today, I just don't understand why they did it for me.
And I want to also just add to that, Lewis, is that I honor you in the space simply because you were open to receive. All too often, if I know the answer, I don't want to hear what you got to say. Sometimes we got to take the time to listen, because people can see things in us that we are not mature enough to yet see in ourselves. So I'd like to open the floor since he mentioned you, Ray. Go ahead. Take that floor.
Wow.
Lewis, put the pressure on you.
Yeah. Thanks, Lou. I appreciate that.
That's what we do for each other, huh, Lewis?
One of my favorite quotes is "Iron sharpens iron," and I try to put myself with those types of men that sharpen my sword, because I'm always out there fighting. So I actually always appreciate that, getting out of my comfort zone. But I'm going to take Monty. I didn't even realize you were from Oklahoma, man. I grew up in Lawton, played high school ball there, so that's where it all started for me. So my dad was a drill sergeant, and I think when you talk about, you know, what it is that keeps you moving and going, for me, it was three things. It was discipline, being coachable, and visualization. And the reason I say discipline, my dad was a drill sergeant. That's how
he wasn't playing, huh? Right? He wasn't.
I have been into, you know, we grew up in the projects of Greensboro, North Carolina. Had our tripped all the way from Colorado to Shreveport, Louisiana, to all the way to Hawaii, and ended up in Oklahoma playing football. And my dad was a disciplinary. And when I look back at it now, when I was a kid, I was just like, man, all my friends were like, yeah, your parents are way too hard on you. And I look back at that now, and that's probably the biggest, strongest vein in my spirit is my discipline. And I've taken that same blueprint to every you know thing I've done in my life. But the biggest thing was, you know, visualization. Like you just said, you know, you got to see yourself be that great. If you can't see it or visualize yourself being great, it's very difficult to even expect that. And back in the day when I wanted to play football and I was in Hawaii and I was on punishment, you come in my room was full of posters of Bo Jackson and Willie Gold and Tim Brown and Deion Sanders when he was at Florida, you know, and this was in my room, and all I did was replace my face with their face on those walls. And so every day I woke up, I saw those jerseys, I saw those people, and I said, one day I'm going to be one of those men. And that was, you know, visualizing that, being an actual a creator in your life, in your mind, because what you create in your mind is really what comes out. And I really, really, you know, tried to nail down and really focus on visualizing what my future would be. But the biggest thing that I would say to all young people is one of the number one, and I still take this, I even get choked up when I say it. When I was getting drafted, the New York Jets, Bill Belichick was the coach. He was a defensive coordinator at that time. And he went back and talked to my coach, Kevin Ramsey, was a great coach. I came from a great lineage of coaches as well. They asked, you know, what type of person is Ray? And when my coach said he's probably going to be one of the most coachable players that you ever have, I didn't realize how big of a compliment that was, because if you're coming into a company or coming into a business or you're coming into a sport or whatever, if you can't be coachable, it really doesn't matter how much talent that you have.
Preach, Ray.
You have to be able to adapt into the place that leader wants you to do. And so I really prided myself on being coachable, and I wasn't playing, you know, my background from sports and entertainment to entrepreneurship. All you guys are about to be my mentors. It's mainly because I'm the youngest and you guys are all older than me. But really, I would love to. I keep all my coaches and my mentors around me as my counsel. I have my board of directors as my business, but I have my board of directors as my life too. So that's kind of where I would start.
And Ray, one of the things I would add to that is this. I get people all the time coming to me wanting help because I consult now as well as coach. And I tell them the one thing you have to come to the table with is greatness. I can't create the greatness in you. I can see it in you, but you have to acknowledge and bring it to the table, and we can work from there.
There you
So
go.
I truly understand what you're saying. I'm going to go next to Mr. White Howard.
It's fascinating from my perspective listening to Ray and Lewis, and I'm just a simple boy from Hampton, Virginia, and probably, I was helped back in the second grade. I didn't flunk the second grade because it's impossible. Yeah, they just want to know like ABCs, and they give you a rhyme, and yeah, they don't want to know nothing. So obviously, it was a test. And I remember when I came back, and Mrs. Bond, she said, "You know everything. All you have to do is apply it." And that was one of the greatest things that ever happened. In the sixth grade, Mrs. Hall, I was a patrol. And back then, when you were a patrol, you kind of had power. When Mr. Wilson said, well, let them across the street, I'm the one that kind of letting them across the street. I could say, put the bubble gum out, don't chew, don't run in the hallways.
Got some power there, huh?
Had some power. And I remember Mrs. Hall walked out of the room. And when you're in the sixth grade, you think that that door is an iron curtain. No one can hear on either side. And the kids were all coming in, and, we was laughing. Riddick had said something to Leon, and we all laughed, and then the door opened. Mrs. Hall said, "What's going on?" Nobody said anything. She said, "What's going on?" And then that darn Leona gonna start crying. Riddick said, and Miss Hall said, "Howard." I said, "Howard." Howard. Howard.
You say, I didn't do it, huh?
I didn't do a thing. Well, I was laughing, but that shouldn't count. She ripped that patrol belt off of me and said, "Go sit down." That day, you found out you either part of the problem or part of the solution to the problem. I was not part of the solution that day. I was a part of the problem. I knew from that day on, I would always be a part of the solution. And as I kind of kept going, my dad left home. We had nowhere to go. So we moved out to my mother's sister's house. They had like a little quasi farm. Her husband had just died. They had no children, but it was in the middle of the woods. So you leave all your friends. On one side of the woods, they said it was a sign down there. It said, if you hear when the sun go down, you won't see it come up. So you just didn't go down that side of the woods. The other side, you could walk that way and walk on out through the woods and catch the buses. You walk through some integrated neighborhoods. And one day some guys came by. This was the beginning of integration. And they said they let you play basketball down at that new school. And I asked moms, and she said, "Okay, be back before it's dark." So we rode our bicycles down to that new school. We walked in the gym. No kids were there. 3 white men down the other end. So I'm like, we don't belong in here. And then one of the men said, "Hey, you boys want to play a game?" I didn't play basketball, and apparently my friends didn't either. So, yeah, let's play. They old people. You can beat them. And then they changed the rules. You had to take the ball back behind the line when it changed hands. So the whole game was no son, the ball, no son, the ball, no son, the ball, no son, the ball got to be somewhere else. They beat us to death. And when I was walking off, I stopped to get some water. That was when you could drink out of a water fountain. And this man walked up and he introduced himself. He said, "How you doing, son? My name is Jim Hathaway. I'm the coach at Kecoughtan High School." I said, "Hi." He said, "Have you ever heard of the big old Oscar Robertson?" Of course I have, like everybody else. He said, "If you listen to everything I tell you, you could be just like the big O." I went home. I was in the woods. I cut some trees down, Bev. Bought them out. I dug some holes. I put them trees in the hole. I walked along the side of the road and found soda bottles, cashed them in, went to Western Auto, and bought a basketball and a basketball goal. I shot a lot of kids. That man taught me, and I went to so I changed schools and went to the junior high. It was only 3 black kids in the whole school. I didn't know that when I went, but that was what it was. I was voted the most popular boy in school. Got to play basketball. I couldn't play, but they couldn't play either. So hell, I got to play. Wouldn't have played at the black school because I wasn't no good. The one thing that has stayed with me throughout my life, walking down the street on a Saturday morning, me and my mom's passed Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee had this huge limp. And as we walked by, "How you doing, Lee?" "Hi, Miss Leo. How you today?" "I'm having a great day." "You too. Take care." Now, Howard was throwing the rocks at the zero and the stop sign. Hell, you see Mr. Lee 50 times a day. She stopped me. And she said, "You let that be the last time in your life you ever walk by someone and not open your mouth to speak. Because even a dog can wag its tail when it passes you on the street." It has become my philosophy for life.
Wow. That is some powerful, powerful messaging so far. I mean, I don't even know what to say, because anytime your mama start pronouncing every single word and pause in between,
get problems.
You already know you got a problem. That yes, ma'am couldn't get out fast enough, could it, Howard?
No, indeed.
And taking the time to invest in yourself, doing the work, finding the bottles. You could have bought anything with that being poor, but you chose to invest. And Lewis, I know that's your motto. Invest in you before you ask someone else. So
I like that.
So Beth, I want to ask this group. I know it's your show, but I got my own
this is our show. This is our show.
This is the debating question I've asked successful people my whole life. Is greatness inherent or is it learned?
Chris.
Yes. Deep question, but I just want to run back to tell you for your first question about greatness and how we got there. So for me, I'll never forget, it was a conversation between my dad and I, and then also my grandmother, who said it in a different way. And what they said was, you don't have to be the best. You just got to outwork folks. So as a kid, you don't really know what that means. And I came from a family of a lot of athletes. These guys are amazing. NFL, Major League Baseball, so on and so forth. Cousins in the NBA. And I was always the little guy, and I would always complain about not getting picked or getting picked last. And my grandmother on a different day said, But my dad said, you ain't got to be the best. You just got to outwork them. And so I apply that to everything that I do. I know that I'm still here because of the prayers from others, because I know that I'm not supposed to be. And I always tell my kids, and I live by this, I turn the camps and you're not able and you're not the best to fuel for success. Because when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. So, and then the last one for all those that are in the entrepreneurial spirit, I learned something from Elvis Presley. So I was a young kid and we were supposed to go to bed. And I had a room that I made myself in an attic. And my dad said, boy, turn that TV off. And it was a late night. I was upstairs and I had the TV on and I had it on real low because, we didn't have an AirBods then, and real black and white TV, real low, had the cover over me and the TV. And there was a show on this. And I'll never forget, I remember to this day, the host said, Mr. Presley, why did you give that colored woman your Cadillac? And he said, because she asked for it. So I ain't never been afraid to ask. So
get your Cadillac, Chris. So what is your feel on greatness?
I believe. So this is what I believe. I believe greatness is you can make greatness, but you have to have fire in you to get it, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, because it's just not cast upon you.
Yeah.
It could be sitting there, and this is they're dormant for a lot of people because they don't, when that door opens, they don't walk in. You open the door for me, I'm coming in. So, so I think it's inherent in people if they willing to let it come out. But in order to have it come out, you got to have that fire. Mm-hmm. You got to make it happen because nobody's giving you anything.
Perfect.
Monty?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, when it comes to mindset, man, jewels have been just raining down. I would say the first thing about mindset is to really understand yourself and to not beat yourself up. And so many times I'm encountering young people and they have a tendency to always want to be perfect the first time out. And everything has to be perfect. Everything, head to toe. And they don't really understand that learning to embrace yourself, learning to embrace your tendencies, that's where you find, the center. And so for me growing up, if I wanted to play basketball on the block, well, I knew I had the glasses. So immediately it's like, no, because, you're going to break your glasses. So I had to learn how to play without my glasses. Mm. And when I learned how to play without my glasses, I just knew, there were certain passes I could make, certain passes I couldn't make. But I just knew what my tendencies were for each person on my team, and I knew how to get them the ball. And when they got the ball, I knew what they were going to do, and all I needed to do was position myself for the rebound. So early on, I just learned that your obstacles that you deem are your obstacles are really your strengths.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
And if you learn to incorporate others, so many people and young people always feel like somebody else is going to get the shot and I'm not going to get the shot. In the film business, and I guess I've always been around it, but the people that I learned from so much in terms of just mindset were people who always included us. The bad ones, the good ones, the so-so ones, the ones who were struggling. And in that group, the group had to figure out how to take care of itself. So from elementary school to high school to junior high, it was all about the group learning how to take care of itself. And so that was the mindset. Hmm. Greatness has to be defined according to what you really want to do. For example, if you decide you want to be a teacher, don't decide just to be a mediocre teacher. decide to be the best teacher that you can be,
the most
for an
impactful
extended period of time. It may be an English class, but if you end up teaching 7,000 people English, and English in a way where they go on to become the best writers, right? And then they pass that on to their children, you have impacted your students by just being a great teacher. And so everybody's looking to be on the front page of their IG. Everybody's looking to be on a TikTok. Everybody's looking for 1 million of this, 3 million of that. And what they're forgetting is that you can make a decision just to be that one thing, and you do that one thing so well that you impact many.
That's what greatness truly is. Lewis, I'll give you my version of that question, which is, I think we're all inherently built for greatness. But comparison is not greatness. And often we are in a comparison state to a point where we don't dove in and find out and cultivate the tools we need in order to maximize our potential. So everybody has a gift. My grandmother cleaned houses. But she was phenomenal at it and taught me those skills. If I can't do nothing else, I always had the confidence that I can always go clean houses or work in a laundry. Why? Because my mother worked in a dry cleaner, which I worked in with her. My grandmother cleaned houses in Mississippi and in California, and I cleaned with her even before I was big enough to hold the mop right. But they taught you skills of excellence. And I think something that Ray said earlier, which is discipline. You have to have the personal discipline in order to manifest your greatness. You have to have the discipline in how you think. You have to check your feelings. And you have to, because this conversation isn't about motivating people to be great. Your stories are inspiring people, and that's different. You have to be around people that inspire you.
Absolutely.
So Bev, the reason I asked that question, you hit on both of the things. You know, I have this little brand called Waymaker, and our mission is to educate, motivate, and inspire Black people to live their best life. And the question always comes up, what does that look like? So we try to answer that question through telling stories and showing journeys of people that are in these boxes here. Then people can visualize, if Ray could do that, maybe I can do that. Yep. If Monty can do that, then maybe I can do that. If Harold can do that, then maybe I can do that. If Christopher can do that, then maybe I can do that. But sometimes in our communities, they have to see it to believe that they can be it. So that's why, Monty, the stories that you and Spike Lee did are so important to our community. And that's why people refer back to all the names of those great movies, because they're so important. So I think we have an obligation to help people see, find, and carry out their greatness, because they may not be able to do it by themselves.
And I think the reoccurring theme here from all of your stories is that you were impacted by the journey of others who cared enough to pour into you in the moment.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
I was just gonna say, I think when you say greatness, that's a huge, feat. When many people come to mind, and Michael Jordan being one. When you think about that, but when you think about when I say greatness, I think there needs to be some comfortability with failure, because if you don't fail in understanding how to fail and recover, which a lot of people don't. This is the generation of everybody's doing great on social media, and nobody wants to show that they failed or lost or ain't winning or starting from the bottom. Now we here type of situation. You have to be at a position where knowing that being uncomfortable is part of the journey of a great person. I was riding my bike today. I'm in Chicago and I love to ride my bike, and I'm on the trail, and it said it was 67 degrees, but when you get closer to the lake, that drops like 10 degrees. So it was like 55 degrees, and I'm on my bike and I'm cold. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have to do this. I got a bike in the house. I got a treadmill. I go jump on the bike and do that, go back home. But that's because I was uncomfortable. It was just just being uncomfortable just a little bit. And then while I'm thinking about going back home, there are people passing me. So what do? Do I just go, nah, I can just go do this in the house and be comfortable? Or just be a little bit uncomfortable today and see what comes out of that? And I think that's a part of it's that iron sharpens iron. It's being understanding that things will not work out. Being great is figuring out how to change that thing that didn't work out, being able to pivot. You think about the basketball play where they say you can pivot, take a step and pivot to make a shot. If you can't pivot, it's hard to be great. Because many people are so focused on this is the way my dream is, and this is how it was supposed to be. This is the way I dreamed it up. And that's not the case all the time. You got to be able to say, I failed. Let's go. Let's pivot and make this shot this other way.
Now I would say failure, I can say that I'm looking at one of MJ's quotes, and we worked on that kind of together, and then Riz took it. I've missed X amount of shots. I've failed over and over and over again, and that is why I succeed.
Yeah.
So I think that for our young people, if you can't accept failure, I told you, I failed in the 2nd grade. They took my patrol belt when I was in 6th grade. I was a superstar in high school, and then I tore one knee up completely, and I had this. Of course, they didn't know what they were doing when they operated back then. They just cut you open, take some stuff out, throw some stuff away, tie some stuff up, and they ain't know nothing about rehab. So they put you in a cast for 2 months, and then you good. So, but you weren't good. You just playing off of one leg then, and unfortunately, I was pretty good on one leg, and in college, I just had the H on my back. And then by the time my senior year, then I blew the other knee out. And I said, man, this ain't as much fun as it's supposed to be. But that was the time that these other skill sets came into play.
Yep.
I think going with my mom's, which she was just a simple maid out of Reno. And I would get to go over with her like on a Friday and Saturday. And the Champneys had like 3 kids. And I think what was great for me, I would sit down and eat with David and Nancy and Sally and, play with them, get hand-me-down toys and play with them, hand-me-down bicycles. But what I found out was they weren't any different than me. We're just all kids. So when I got into the situations, when I went to those other schools, they were just kids. And I fooled myself, Bev. I'm capable of telling myself things like when I was playing and it would get dark on that court that I made up. And someone had said, because it's dark, they said, it's still light in California. I said, be light in California? I said, son, all I can do is tell you what the truth is. So I had to go out every night because the people in California was cheating. I don't know how they was cheating, but they was cheating.
They was out there playing when you was in the dark. You was like, they not gonna get the edge.
They ain't gonna get ahead of me. And my mama would be saying, boy, you can't see, get in this house. Mama won't understand that the people in California cheating. But I used that to my advantage. So when I went to camp, and all of these superstars I didn't know, and you scared. I mean, hell, I'm in New York City. I'm scared to death. They dunking and spinning in the air. And I'm like, we shouldn't be here. And then I think the guy told my coach, he said, well, I guess you country boys don't see much like this, do you? And then I figured out, well, hell, I can jump. I can jump on that court in the backyard. I've been playing all of these nights waiting for California kids. I don't know where they from, but they might as well be from California. So when I left there as MVP, my coach said, and I guess you don't see much like this, do you? So when I got to college, I would get up early. All the lights was out. Now, I don't know whether they just went to bed. I don't know what they was doing, but I was beating them. I was up ahead of them, and I was winning.
You was outworking them.
Exactly.
Outworking them, yeah.
So you can tell yourself, because the best advice you will ever get is what you tell yourself. That can be bad advice, or it can be good advice. Hopefully you around somebody that you can keep talking positively to yourself.
Yeah.
Every time you fall, you get back up.
There
And all of these great people that people look up to and say, no, they are people that need encouragement too.
Right.
There are people you got to say, yeah, you know, we've been here before, and we can do this.
Yeah.
And so how you choose to see the world. You want to know the greatest thing is the simple stuff. Change your attitude. You want to be great at something? Change your attitude towards it.
Right.
Don't play a victim.
Amen.
Change your attitude. You want to be great. And I'll say this one last thing. I was in this kind of seminar, and I remember a woman got up and she asked the same question that Lewis did. She said, is greatness, is it made, or are you just great? And all the kids raised their hand. You can do that. You can make it. You can go to college. You can do all of this. You can do all of that. And she said something that had stayed with me ever since. She said, you're right. But I think true greatness is something deep down inside.
Yeah.
Why somebody follows somebody. Why somebody will. It's hard. You can follow somebody, just follow them around that daggone corner is the hard part. You go around the corner and they take off and run. So work on yourself, work on those skills, listen. And as we first started, I'm where I am today, wherever that is, because I've listened to people that saw more in me than I could see in myself. I was just, my wife don't like me to say this, but I was just stupid enough to believe it. And I did everything in my power to make it come true.
Hey, Bev, one of the things that I utilize all the time, and he is so right. I mean, I know you put this together for us to drop, some nuggets of knowledge on people, but I'm getting it all over here. I'm loving it. So, but one of the things that I use all the time is because usually when we get a youth or to come to us because of an issue is because they failed at something. So I always say, I want you to go and Google how many shots Michael Jordan made versus how many he missed. I want you to go and Google what it takes to be in the Hall of Fame. You only need to bat 300 to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That means you missed 7 out of 10. You can't worry about Kobe said it best. You can't worry about the ones you missed. Right. You just got to keep going.
Right.
And that's the same thing here. If you try and fail, at least you tried. If you don't give it a chance, only one you failed is yourself.
Chris, I asked Jay that one time too. I said, because he shot a big shot. I said, you ain't mean to make that. Did it go in?
So 8th grade, y'all. 8th grade, I go out for the track and field team at my school, and these guys were good. Oh man! And the first day is just get out there and run, you know. So I'm trying to run behind them. I'm going home. That day I went home, man, I was so sore from top to bottom, right? I was just like, oh. So I wanted to quit. And then they said, no, you just got to keep running. So I kept running. So then we get to the first meet. Man, I come in last. And my event was the 400. Back then, I think it was the 400 meters. So once around the track. Come in last. Ah, man. Meet number 2. Man, these guys take off. They winning. Everybody looking at me like, Monty, you up. Let's go. Ah, boom. Lose. So we get to the last tournament. We get to the last track and field meet of the year. And this was it, right? So they was like, well, we know what's going to happen. I said, I don't know what's going to happen, y'all. So I take off and did I win? No, I didn't win. But my coach,
I ain't get last.
Almost last. But my coach, listen, but my coaches was running up and they was screaming, yo, Monty. And then he had to stop watch. He said, you did it. You ran the 400 meters in 60 seconds. And so for me, I was like, okay, it was a win. So losing the whole time, but I got in shape. I had the mentality, and at the very last tournament, running that 60 seconds, it just proved to me, you know, to myself that I could do something. So being like the worst person on the team, sometimes you may feel like I'm not making a contribution, but just keep moving forward, and you'll have you'll have some type of victory that the total team, you know, will embrace. So that's one of my true stories, Howard.
Man, I love that what you just said, Monty. And with you and Chris, you know, that you have, both of you kind of have been in my life / story, you know, like you just said, tribe. After playing football, a lot of us, you know, I only played 6 years. So when you get out, I was 30 years old trying to figure out what was next for me to do, you know, and I became an entrepreneur. I loved working with athletes. I just always had a passion of working with athletes. Opened up a fitness club, ran that for many years, had a great time here in Chicago. Became an actor. And I remember when a woman told me, like, when she saw me do a monologue, I heard her whisper, like, how do you think he can act? And laughed at me, you know. And I've been doing this for 25 years. I've probably been Screen Actors Guild for 25 years. I've probably modeled for majority of the brands out there, been on all the shows and whatnot. And when you say try, it was just like you just said, Chris, everything I did, I was going to try. I hope you tell me that I can't do it, because that's my fuel. That is my fuel. You telling me that I can't do something. And I think being great, when you talk about being greatness, you're able to, those things don't distract you. People telling you what you can and can't do. Chris, I'm in Chicago, and I had a buddy of mine that was a firefighter, and he wanted me to come and speak at he was a semi-pro football game. And he said, hey, man, we're playing the cops. Why don't you come over and, you know, just say something to the team afterwards? And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm sitting up in the stands, and the coach is just calling some horrible plays. And I'm like, dude, I'm texting him because it's semi-pro. So I'm texting him on the sideline. I'm like, dude, what is your coach doing, man? He's calling some horrible plays. And so after the game was over, I spoke to both the teams. And then I just had this thing that just jumped out of me and said, say it. Just go ahead and say it. I was like, Coach, do you mind running a couple of plays for me? And they was like, all right. I was like, Coach, you can do whatever you want to do. You do defense. Coach, can I get your cell phone number? And he was like, okay. I said, I'm going to text you. I got a cell phone number. I went back up into the stands, and I stood there and I looked at both teams, and I told the coach, I said, Coach, run a left sweep. Texted to him. He ran a left sweep, and it gained yards. coach, run a play action pass. He ran a play action pass and went. And then I literally on my phone took that whole football team and down and I scored. They didn't even know what I was doing. I said, thank you. And that's when I created my business, Fan Control Football, where fans would call plays for a real football game in real time. And that was 10 years ago. Me and 3 other guys, we raised $40 million. We built an indoor football league that allowed fans to call the plays. And that was the infancy was through the cops and firefighters in Chicago. They were my proof of concept back then. And if it wasn't for me sitting in that stands and having enough courage to go, why not? Like, and all I kept hearing for the last 10 years was, man, you're going to try to compete with the NFL? That's all I kept hearing. So, yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, why would I do this? It makes no sense. There's just more football. No one's going to do it. And it was enough for 13 companies to give us $40 million to build the business out. So you never know what your try is going to get you. You know, so that's why I keep trying.
And you have to, I want to say this. You cannot, there's no such thing as a victorious victim. You're either have a victory mind or you have a victim mind. You can't be successful with both. And you've got to be, from what I'm hearing from everybody, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable to be great. Lewis, what would you say to that?
Well, Bev, you know, I have the largest Black men's conference in the country. And Absolutely. That was my theme last year, being uncomfortable for growth. Our theme this year is competing against yourself for growth. And in my New York office, on my, we have a fishbowl type offices, and on my glass office, I have in 24-inch letters the word growth. I think, and most people think because I'm in charge of revenue, that's why I got growth. But it's really referring to life. Because I think if you grow in life, then everything else sort of dominoes and falls into place. So I do believe that you can't get growth without being uncomfortable, and you can't grow without competing against yourself. So I am totally in on that.
Excellent. Well, guys, we're at the end, and I'd like for you, if you can, what would you leave our audience with? Just a word of wisdom from you.
I'll start if you guys don't mind. Find mentorship. Find mentorship. I my coaches are football guys, but even when I have entrepreneur decisions to make, I still call them. I call a lot of people, but again, having a board of directors for life, where you can really be honest with someone. One of you guys are going to probably be on my board. I don't even know yet, but most likely it will, because I want to put the right people around me to make the right decisions. And I can't do it. And people can say it all they want, but I think you can't be great by yourself. It takes a lot of people to make a great person, and that person that's being great knows that. And that's the one thing that I would say for these young kids to seek out mentorship, seek out men or women that you want to be like, and put them around, figure out how to cut their grass, wash their car, walk their dog, whatever, but create a relationship with them that when you need to call them if you are only as big as your network. If you can't pick up the phone and call somebody and something happened on the other side, then that's not really your network. That's just somebody you know. But if I can pick up the phone and say, hey, Monty, I need to get in touch with Spike because I'm doing something at these HBCU schools. Can you make that happen? Let me send you over a deck so you can see what you're going to sell. If that doesn't happen, that's okay. If I can't make that call and he makes that step, then that's not really in my network. But if he makes that step and then I'm able to present to a Spike Lee or whomever, then that's what your network is. So in my opinion, I would always say, put yourself around a group of people that can mentor you through life.
Awesome. Chris?
I'm going to say, don't be afraid to tell others of your struggles. find that mentor, whether it's that will give you a shoulder check, that's not afraid to tell you if you're going the wrong way. Like I tell people all the time, if you have to go New York from where I live is north. If you have to go north, why would you get in the vehicle going south? Don't hang with people that ain't going where you want to go.
Damn.
And don't. Well, Gary said it best. If you want to be a millionaire, why are you talking to somebody that's broke? You know. So my thing is, be cognizant of your mental health. Make sure you share with others. You know, all today we have way too many kids, you know, taking the easy way out because they don't know how to handle the pressure, and they don't know how to handle that pressure because they haven't found that right person to help them through that. So make sure as you navigate your plane and you're moving forward that you put others in your car and take them with you and leave nuggets behind so that others can follow. Don't think you can do this by yourself, and don't leave people behind.
Awesome.
Excellent. Wow. Play like a girl. That's y'all gotta go to that website.
Yeah, y'all gotta check it out. Y'all gotta check it out.
Play like a girl.
Play like a girl. Monty.
And Deb, Bev, make sure that we all have ways to connect with one another after this, because I got a lot of questions.
I would love to. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Monty.
Yeah, I would say inspire yourself, inspire others, but learn how to navigate and find a way to make things happen. And I'm strictly talking about in the positive. I'm not talking about in the negative. I'm saying find a way to make it happen, because you just never know the impact that you will make. So when Spike and I were starting, we started making movies, 8mm films. Then we went to 16mm film. Then we went to 35.
Wow.
And then when the opportunity came to do a film, limited resources, it was one big round table in front of us, a big phone in front of us. I had my pad, and I had given up trying to be an actor. And I said, Spike, if you give me creative concessions, I can get your film made in 14 days based on the budget you have. And do you know, we worked together, and the creative concessions he gave me as a production supervisor allowed us to get the film made in 12 days. And that film, along with other films, Robert Townsend and many, many others, led us not only to an explosion in film and television, but it also landed us a job delivering some of the first commercials to the Michael Jordan that have ended up, you know, telling millions and millions of people. And the same thing even at BET.
You guys, excuse me, that's Howard and Monty.
Oh yeah, that's
on
Howard,
the shoot
right
of the Spike Lee commercial.
Wow,
Howard.
look at that. That's dope.
Yeah. So again, by Spike and I learning to figure it out, we figured it out. We had a crew around us that figured it out, and then from there, the images that went on to become, you know, the movies that we made, from She's Gotta Have It to School Days, etc. All because we were learning to figure it out, not afraid to fail, but always saying, "Hey, we're going to present our best foot forward." And by doing that, we ended up inspiring, you know, the world. And I am so appreciative. And thanks for having me, and thanks for listening, getting a chance to listen to all these great people. Man, oh man, I'm excited, y'all. Thank you so much, Bev.
Oh man, I appreciate you, Monty. Howard, you got to follow that up, because that picture was legendary.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, you know, Mom's always said everything she's always said has been simple and almost in a parable. She said, any road to get you there if you don't know where you're going. So obviously trying to plot where you're going to go. Yeah, you may not get there right off, but you just keep on doing that.
Yeah.
Again, all of those people, that high school Coach Hathaway, I still talk to him, you know, once every week, once every couple of weeks. Nancy Newstep, who told me, "You're a great writer. I take your papers home and I read them to my mother every night." So, yeah, when I wanted to write a book, I said, Nancy told me I was a great writer. Hell, I can write my own book. So we have a book club today, Nancy and I.
That's nice.
Dr. Leedy, who has now passed, I found her, but in class one day she said, "Would you stay behind?" And you think you're in trouble when your college professors ask you to stay behind, but she said, "What do you want from this class?" I said, "If you're giving A's out, I'd take one." I said, "No, you want to learn." She said, "I've only known two people in my life that could command the attention of an entire class. One's a movie star, and he was in a lot of movies, and the other one is Howard White." I said, "What Howard White you talking about?" She said, "You." She said, "But there is a problem. The one guy was from the city. When he speaks, everybody understands. Howard White, when you speak, I don't know what you talking about half the time. You got a little Southern dialect. You got a little," and she wrote a number down. And she said, "Call her. Tell her I told you to call." I didn't call for a while because I was a little upset. I don't understand her either, who she thinks she is. But one day I did call that number. And it was asked at how to speak in the King's English. It literally changed my life. And I found her after I did my book. And, it was interesting. I called her and I kept calling because I never got anybody. She had this raspy voice. And she said, "Hello?" I said, "This Dr. Leedy?" She said, "It's just Charlotte. Who am I speaking with? Is this Eddie?" I said, "No, ma'am, not that life." I said, "You said there were two." She said, "Howard White." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Howard White, I was just telling a group of students about you just the other day." I said, "Dr. Leedy, you lied. You haven't seen me in 35 years. You were not telling a group of students about me just the other day." She said, "I was. Tell me what you're doing." And then she said, "I told you so." I said, "Who are you, an angel?" She said, "No, simply your teacher." And I stayed in touch. She wanted me to attend her 80th birthday party, and we went, my wife and I. And all of these people kept coming up to me. They said, "You're Howard." I said, "I am." She said, "You know, you were one of Charlotte's favorites." I said, "No, I thank her because she did so much for me." They said, "But you didn't have to listen." And so when you break it down, when I would ask Mr. Knight various things about how to do things, how can you do this? How can you do that? And he said that the ceiling, there is no ceiling. I learned that basically in high school. I read in a Scholastic magazine, I'm sure they don't have those now, but it said that you had a better chance at going to college if you were class, one of the class councils or one of the class members. And I went up to my assistant coach. I said, "Coach Kilborn, I think I'm gonna run for class office." He said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know. The book said that if you're a class officer, you got a better chance to go to college. Nobody in my family ever been to college." He said, "Howard, what would you run for?" I said, "I don't know, a secretary, treasurer, something like that. I mean, it just said a class officer." And he asked me a simple question. He said, "Can you tell me who the salutatorian is at Kecoughtan High?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "That might be too hard. How about the valedictorian?" I said, "I don't know them either. I guess I can't run for class office." He said, "You're getting ahead of yourself. I guarantee you they can tell me who you are." I said, "They don't know me." He said, "I guarantee you they do. So why wouldn't you run for class president? That way you can tell the secretary and the treasurer what to do." I say, that's a brilliant idea. Why didn't I think of that? So in essence, most people shoot too low.
Mm.
They don't raise their sights. And I have to be thankful. I'm thankful for all of those people. And more so, I just had a heart transplant about 3 years ago, which meant there was someone that had to give their life in order for me to have a life. And I remember I wrote their parents afterwards, and I said, I know you're in grief, but I will promise you this. Along with the gentle giant that's in me, your son, together, we'll be a phoenix. And we will lead people to a greater place. And Bev, that's all anyone can do, is try and help to lead people to a place that they can become their dreams.
Wow. That's powerful. And speaking of Believe and Achieve, you guys don't sleep on these books, because our next guest also has just a phenomenal book, Dirty. You could tell he's a marketing guy because the titles get you. How about Dirty Little Secrets and Little Black Book? He took terms that may make you think one way to inspire you to think in a way that is beneficial not only to yourself, but to others. And one of the things that you're hearing from everyone on here, which is why I say this is a very humble panel, is that they're giving homage to the unknown, unheralded heroes on their journey who took the time to pour into them. And so at this moment, I'm going to give homage to Lewis for pouring into our community, especially of young Black men, who the suicide rate among young Black males is rising at an unjustly rate. So, Lewis.
Sure. Thank you, Bev. It would be three things. Number one, have a big vision and commit to work every single day towards that vision. Be consistent with it. Number two, if you want someone to do something for you, start by doing something for someone else.
Hold up, Lewis. You might have dropped the mic. I need a moment. Can you please repeat number two?
If you want someone to do something for you, start by doing something for someone else. And no matter who you are, how poor you are, no matter your background, your circumstances, you can always find something to do for somebody else. Always remember that. So start by looking and searching for what you can do for somebody else. As you know, Bev, I was inducted into the Advertising Hall of Fame last year, and a lot of people said, how did he get into it? How did he get into it? There is a dirty little secret there, because one of the qualifications is having a life of service that impacts their community. Most people think it's about, all the revenue I brought in for BET, about my title.
Over 10 billion.
All of that. No, it's that little thing that they missed in the qualifications. A life of service that impacted their communities. So if you want somebody to do something for you, start by doing something for someone else. And the third and final thing is always grow your life. Grow your life. Continue to work on being better every single day than you were the day before. And that's in every aspect of your life. One of the things we talk about with Black men is managing anger. because we know Black men kind of can be angry about a whole lot of things, and the world has given us a lot of things to be angry about. But if you can manage that anger, it's part of growing your life.
Man.
And as we say at Waymaker, grow your life and change the world.
Grow your life and change the world.
Can I add a little? I mean, what you just
Yes.
said is amazing, but and just you can add it to Lewis's, or add it to Monty's, or you can add it to Ray's, or Bev's, or Christopher's. What he just said was amazing. Now I'm gonna tell you this. Add into that, decide what you're willing to give up to make your dreams come true. See, everybody in life wants something. It's just very few people willing to give up any daggone thing to get it.
Yep.
And then the last one is write it down.
Yeah, man.
Because they say only 80%, 20% of the people in the world have written, definite, positive goals.
I'm going to tell you something. When my senior year in high school, in September, I wrote a number down and I posted it in my locker. That number was 3:19.5. That would have been the fastest time that a high school mile relay team had ever run in the world, indoors. All right. Taped it right inside my locker. On March 26th, the following March after September, we ran 3:19.5. And we broke the high school world record for indoor mile.
Sorry, Monty. Sorry, Monty. They didn't have no 60 seconds on that relay. Ooh, that's fast. Oh my God, that was fast.
Monty write it down. See, that's probably bad. Monty had written.
Monty didn't write it down, did he?
See, Lewis got this thing in his.
Lewis wrote it down.
Oh man.
I'm too through with you guys. I will definitely connect everybody, because one of the things that I pray that we receive from just this small show that I do is that we connect in ways that are from the heart. There are two ways as a community, as a Black community, we've always connected. We've connected over food and we've connected over conversation. And we become family. We've lost our way in terms of what community means. Community doesn't mean call Howard or call Lewis and say, give me some money. It doesn't mean call Monty and say, and Ray and say, I need you to do this for me and get me a part. No. Help me get an opportunity. Help me to grow myself, as Lewis said, in order for me to be prepared for my moment. Mm-hmm. Christopher pours into young people all the time, and he's seen the worst of us as a police officer, but something inspired him to say, if I give back, because I see something greater than the actions, which is the heart of the people that we have in our community. That never changes. So don't judge a person by the mistakes they make. I see beyond the mistake and I see the greatness in you. If everybody could take a moment and if you notice, there was one conversation they had with a person of authority in their life that took the time to pour into them, and it made a world of a difference. In the 6th grade, I had an English teacher after I lost running in the first integrated class presidency for the school that sent me a note. I still have it today from the 6th grade. I'm 66 and I have it from California in the 6th grade. And it said, on every campus you walk on, you're going to be an important person. I was born in Mississippi. Don't know, we wasn't told we were going to be anything. I was raised in Florida. We wasn't told. Those are two places you could get hung or burned down. And a white teacher told me I was going to be important. No one had ever told me I had value. So I'm asking everyone that listens on this call to take the time to say something nice, as opposed to criticizing our young people in the community. uplift, help them to grow. I love that. I'm still in the theory of it starts with our inner growth. Don't be afraid to grow. And I want to end this by acknowledging Ash Samuels from Crash Creatives, who produces the show and help us to put it all together. Maddie B, Big Energy, who runs the show. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Don't forget to get all the books that they have out there and follow them on social media. Please do. Because if we don't support each other, we can't. I don't remember who said it, but there's one person that said, be willing to give back. As much as you're asking, I don't care if it's just a kind word, if it's carrying a bag of groceries, I don't care what it is, you have an opportunity to help someone else be great. I want to end the show with our sponsor, ABIS, Gary Charles.
Reason show. You know, as a young man who had the opportunity to grow up with Eddie Murphy and Chuck D. Chuck D, while practicing his craft as a rapper, Eddie practicing his craft as a comedian, and myself just dressing the same way you see me now. All of us looking at each other like, what are you doing? But also trying to elevate each other. We've never forgotten that. As a young man who went to Cheyney University, whose gym teacher was Hall of Famer John Cheyney, there were things that he said that I've never forgotten. He stopped class early every time to give you a life lesson. I remember right before my final, I dislocated my elbow. And I wasn't sure how I was going to take the final. And I went to him and I told him that. And he said to me, well, you have another arm. Because he wasn't going to let me fail or use that as an excuse. So I had to use my other arm to do my final and take those layups to get an A in the class. As a young man who one day went to Sonny Vaccaro and said, I found the next one. His name was Kobe Bryant. Because at that point I had learned that, you know what? You're going to have to learn to fail or not fail. You're going to have to believe in what you believe in. If you don't believe in it, who else will? And this is the reason why in ABIS we created the ABIS Champion of the Legend Gala. It's important for me for people to see sports excellence, our sports excellence. We have people who have done tremendous things. People need to know that. In the last couple of years, we've honored people such as Dr. J, Dawn Staley, Vivian Stringer, Jackie Joyner Kersee, Tony Dungy, Tracy McGrady, Brian Clark. And this year, we're honoring, gentlemen, listen to this. It's Beverly Kearney.
They ran out of people, y'all. It ain't because of what I've
Ali.
accomplished. They ran out of people.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Nani Ali, Muhammad Ali's wife. We're honoring Ben Crump with the John Carlos Tommy Smith Social Activist Award. It is important for us to recognize our greatness. And we're going to be doing it every year. And you know what's so funny about all of this? This year we're doing it down at the National Harbor in Maryland. And every year we go about talking about who should we honor. And it's amazing because every single person on this panel has been talked about as one day being honored. And while my marketing team has talked about, well, one day we want to get to certain TV station, what have you. You know what I've always said? No. We need to get to BET. Because you know why? We need our people to see that they can get there. They need to see what sport excellence look like. And I want to make sure that they have that same dream to be just as good as everybody we're honoring year in and year out. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody so very much from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to pour into our community. I will connect you guys, if it's all okay, on a chain together so that you guys can continue. And I hope our audience understands that you're only as good as the people you have around you.
That's it. Amen. Real talk.
And you have to lovingly stand in your truth, lovingly give truth. Don't just placate, because we see so many people struggling now because people didn't tell them the truth. They didn't help them. I'm sorry, Lewis, I'm going to say it again. They didn't help them to grow. And you can't help a person to grow by appeasing. You have to have the courage and the love for them to always tell them the truth, but try to tell the hard truth in a loving way. And so with that, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you. I think, again, I'd like to say thank you to Joetta. I'd like to thank you, Felicia. I'd like to thank you, Kelly. I'd like to thank you, Gary. And I'd like to thank Ash, because of who they are. People say yes. And that's who you need to be. You need to be the type of character where people say yes. So God bless you guys. Thank you. And please support.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This
Nice
is our
meeting
community.
everyone.
God bless. And I will connect everybody through an email.
Lewis, send that information so we can come to that summit and bring some our people.
All right. And Ray, I'm in Chicago too.
Oh, Lou, we got to get together, bro.
Definitely.
Hey, Lewis, don't go on that bike ride with him. Don't go on that bike ride. Because I've been by that Chicago River. hey, and Ray, make sure you go by Lewis' office. He laid up there in Chicago.
Yeah,
I've been up in that office. I've been up in that building.
I'm right downtown, Lewis. So
You're right there, huh?
I'm in the Prudential building.
Oh, yeah. He lives large. He up there large.
I told you. There's a lot of humility on here, but there is legends and champions on this call. God bless you guys. You have a great evening and love you dearly. Thank you.
I love you dearly as well. All right, y'all.
All right, y'all.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Good.